Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back with you after a real banger of a Survivor episode here tonight. I am thrilled to be talking to you on the post game, not of Mets Phillies, but of Survivor 47, episode 4. And I am so excited to have back with us from Survivor 43, the Godfather, James Jones.
Yo, Rob, thanks for the introduction. I'm glad to be back, man. I appreciate every time I can come on here on this platform that you built and, talk about one of my favorite shows and a game that I played and I still love. So
Yeah, James, and we got a really good one tonight.
that we did. I feel like this season, each episode has given like great strategic kind of just lessons or thoughts to kind of think about. So each episode has been ended differently. And this episode, you had a crazy choice that was because of the power that happened. But we're going to get into that probably. But great episode to get to.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. Tomorrow, we'll have a busy Thursday. I'll have an exit interview with Kishan. And then Survivor Know-It-Alls with Stephen Fishback. That's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we'll find out. I suspect a fishy coming for Genevieve. And not like one of those little baby fishies that Rome caught last week.
Oh, this is orca. This is a big fishy.
This is it. James, what a turnaround for Genevieve, where 1 week ago, I sat there and I looked at Aysha and I said, Aysha, who is Genevieve? And everybody's like, oh my God, who is Genevieve? Who is this person? And now this person went in one night, went from who is this person to, oh my God, who is Genevieve? Where has she been hiding?
I think that's what happened tonight. And I think what you saw was that she has really good relationships with everybody that's on the island right now. So everybody there trusts her. And she's the one person that has everybody's trust on the island right now. Is what you kind of see out there. And I think, just from a storytelling standpoint, it emphasizes that this episode, it makes it stand out that much more by kind of giving, Rome, giving the other tribe members, so you can see all of them and then see Genevieve is really the person that's really in the middle, getting all the information from everybody and observing it and kind of taking your time to make a strategic move. So, breakout episode, like she's playing the long-term game, and I applaud it.
Okay, so we'll talk about Genevieve. I want to go back to Kishan, and I want to go back to Teeny. Okay. And there was a lot of first guess and second guess of that duo last week. They were in the middle. There was Rome and Genevieve on one side, and then Aysha and Sol on the other side. And they were in a situation where they either could have put 3 votes on Genevieve and said Rome's not going to play the idol. They could have split the vote 2-2-2. But they said, you know what? We think that Sol and Aysha are too tight. We think that there's more distance between the Genevieve and Rome pair. Sorry, Aysha. We are going to go with Genevieve and Rome. Hindsight's 2020.
Oh,
but that was not looking like such a hot decision tonight.
So let's go back to that decision, because I feel like that's like something that, like, when you think about when you're on the island, you're in the middle, right? And then you have these 2 opposing sides. I may have been in the middle with kind of 2 opposing sides, but kind of in the middle. You're trying to think, okay, either way, you're going to make somebody mad and alienate somebody. The question is, where am I going to have the most power with for the next vote, as opposed to everything else? And the question is, if you're more close with Aysha than Genevieve, knowing that you're going into a situation where there's 5 with Rome with a still a vote, take emotion out of it, take everything out of it from a sense of control. Once you make the vote to vote out Aysha, now Genevieve and Rome have control of the next vote, no matter what you say, think, or do, unless you find the idol. So the question is, how much uncertainty are you willing to play with, and how much do you really? That's a lot of trust you put in Genevieve and Rome, and you kind of have to kind of go through with that trust once you make that move, because you're kind of at their whims at that point.
And I really do wish that we would have seen more of Genevieve in these first couple of episodes to see what was Genevieve telling Teeny and Kishan over the first 3 weeks. How much was she involved with keeping them from going off with Sol and Aysha? If I had to guess, my suspicion is that they knew that she has this big moment coming up. And maybe they're worried where, like, okay, Rome is being, a little bit of, maybe not super likable with how he's treating Sol and Aysha. And maybe they wanted to sort of like hide Genevieve a little bit from that. And then then there's this episode where there's some daylight between Genevieve and Rome, then she starts to emerge.
I feel like what you're seeing here is interesting, and we're going to go through the episode. You see a lot of people with like alone time, and I think when you're looking at the show, and you see her, I feel like she's the person that's talking to everybody, and because she's Rome go-between, she's having extra conversations kind of to buffer, and people expect you to have those conversations. Like, oh yeah, Rome just went off, so here's Genevieve. She's going to smooth things up. So that's less suspicious. You're still building relationships. It's always great to be the person that's going over. It's like we're at the bar and like the obnoxious guy comes over and you're, oh, yeah, your girl's so good. Then like, the guy comes, oh, my guy's drunk. We're so sorry. That's the guy you want to be. And the second guy's like, oh yeah, drunk guy, sorry for my friend. He's had a long day. And then you swoop in there and say, hey, how you doing? You want some drinks? And Genevieve is in there literally doing that each time. And you look better and better and better no matter what.
Yeah. Thinking about Survivor Cagayan, like Tony and Trish had that kind of relationship. Now it ends up working out in Tony's favor in Survivor Cagayan. But James, last week we saw a whole big montage of Survivor 46 was very much on the minds of the players in this season. They left during the 2/3 of the way through Survivor 46. Do you think that there is any sort of where maybe Genevieve is thinking that, okay, that when Q was sort of out in front, that Tiffany and Kenzie were able to hide behind that a little bit?
I think she is taking a long-term approach. She said it when she voted, this is determining my game. So she's thinking, she knew she was on the chopping block last week. So she probably knew that. She did the math in her head. They could 2-2 it on me. So she's like, okay, I made it through there. Now I have the power. Now I don't want to be thrown out as a, surrogate vote. And how can I maximize my standing going forward? And is it with Kishan and Teeny together, or is break those people up and I have Sol now, and I still going to have Teeny by default, and they still don't like Rome. So where do I have more strength? Then you go on to the merge with Rome as a nice shield in front of you. It sounds like a good place to me.
James, tell me when Genevieve heard that Kishan was the person who said, okay, well, we have to tell Sol a name. He threw your name out there. And that's really where it was it was a great edited moment where we saw it inside her head and how she was thinking. Is that a overreaction on Genevieve's part, or do you think that was a shrewd perception of this cannot happen?
That was probably a multi-factor wake-up call, because what happened was Kishan had the opportunity to probably tell her, say, hey, there's a decoy vote out there, and me and Rome talked about possibly using you or even me. So you throw yourself in there, because it's just you and her. So you two are the decoy votes if they're going to be any, right? So, yeah, we talked about being either you or me being decoy votes. Now when Rome comes with information, it's not as jarring because you said it to her and you said, oh, it could be me. But when that conversation didn't happen, no one wants to be taken off guard with their name. So I think that was the mistake, is not when Rome is having that, attaboy talk with Sol, which went horribly well when the ultimatum was given. That's when you go and tell Genevieve, hey, Rome wanted to kind of, he's going over the sofa and Sol up, and we had to pitch him on somebody, and we talked about you, maybe me, because those are logical choices. So just so you know, that's kind of what happened. And now when that Rome comes back with that, it's a little less kind of damning because you're kind of leaving her out of the plan a little bit, and that's not good when you're in a power position.
It's kind of a tough spot for Kishan of that they have to give Sol a name, right? And it's only 5 people. You can't give him his own name, right? You can't tell him in that spot that the vote is like that the decoy vote is Rome when you're trying to vote for Rome, or you can't tell Rome that the decoy vote is Rome because that you're trying to get one over on Rome. So the only other person you could do is Teeny, and it wasn't even the real plan. It was like that. It was the plan to trick Rome was that they told Sol that it was going to be Genevieve, and that wasn't even the real plan that they were going to try to do.
I think in that situation, knowing how journeys have been, you may just want to. And Sol's the vote, so we know Sol is the vote, or we think Sol is the vote. So you probably don't want to make any big moves without Teeny coming back and knowing where her vote is. Because if Teeny comes back with her vote, the plan is to take Sol's vote, right? No shot in the dark. You have a 3-2, right? You don't need Genevieve to do anything you want to do with this vote. I think that's what you kind of have to do, thinking about this journey with understanding where the numbers are. So now when Teeny comes back, she tells you what happened. I have a vote. I don't have a vote. Then you have enough time to kind of make your plan. But you want to keep things when you're out there. The Tyson, I remember trying to do this as much with Tyson. Keep the plan the same as long as possible until it isn't the same. And I think when you're out there, you want to make a move. And I think Kishan really wanted to make a move. And I think when you give people too much time to think, like who is this best for, I think that's where you're kind of running into some problems. You have a good, I think that's what happened.
Kishan seemed like he could have been a really good player. It feels like that he almost got away with this of these last couple of weeks where, if he was able to pull this off where, he broke up Sol and Aysha last week. Then if this week this comes through where he gets Genevieve to vote with him and Teeny and Sol and then vote out Rome and then basically leaves it where the other 2 pairs, he chops them in half and keeps him and Teeny in the middle with Sol and Genevieve in his mind, okay, they're not on the same page. Like he could have potentially been in a good spot. Like he almost would have got away with it if it wasn't for that damn meddling Genevieve.
I mean, and that comes down to the decision last week. I mean, and which kudos to Genevieve. Like, I feel like we have to give people credit for staying in the game, even when it doesn't seem like they're doing anything, because clearly they're doing things, even if they may not get a confessional or you may not see it. People are playing the game out there, and you kind of have to read between the lines on who's building relationships.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about the Sol and Rome back and forth. And now, in your season, you and Owen had a little bit of a back and forth. Was that at all similar to Rome and Sol?
I mean, I feel like it's interesting because you're having this on your home tribe, but I also think like the Rome and Sol thing was I kind of liked it a little bit in the sense of I don't understand all the alone time that people are having to just find idols and go look for advantages and do things.
So you're Team Rome.
I mean, I feel like you do it with tact, but at the same time, I think it's also a way to build trust. If say Sol does find the idol, you can just say, Sol, you found the idol. Here's how I'll demonstrate trust. I won't tell anybody that you have it.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because, not that I feel like that Rome handled this especially well, no pun intended, but when Rome was doing his idol hunting, we saw the rest of the tribe just like following him around. They're like, oh my God, can you believe it? He's doing this thing. Can you believe it? I can't believe this guy. Where does he get off? But meanwhile, he's finding the idol. He's going on the journey. He's doing all the things. And the rest of the tribe is like, I can't believe this guy. But Rome, for better or for worse, he's like, hey, I don't want this to happen. I'm getting in Sol's face.
I mean, and it's like, he's walking with them. I mean, I'm not against it. At the end of the day, it's kind of like you're out there to play the game. It's like, but you do want to kind of do things in a respectful manner because I think, we'll see with other tribes too. Everybody, like when you're on the bottom, it makes you feel like you're on the bottom, right? but the bottom in Survivor is never as low as you think it is because you don't have all the information.
Yeah.
Right? Like your bottom, like, you know, you may think the top floor is on the 10th floor. You're on the 8th on the bottom, and someone's on the 9th. You're not that far away. So that's kind of
Things change.
Yeah, but things change very rapidly.
Yeah.
You know, so
you know what? I actually think that what Kishan did here actually was like pretty good. Where, you know, we saw like Boston Rob, for instance, in Redemption Island, where, you know, it wouldn't be Boston Rob that was like, okay, the people from Zapatera, we gotta stop them from doing the thing. He would like give out jobs to people of like, hey, you go follow them around. You make sure that like, and they would get annoyed at like the foot soldiers, and we saw that with Kishan of like that. Hey, I'm here to stir things up. It's like, Rome, you better go follow Sol. You better go make sure that he's like, I think he's going off. Somebody better keep an eye on him. And I think that they were doing a good job of like getting Sol mad at Rome, but also keeping Sol from finding the things.
I mean, I think. I don't know if Rome stops Saul, but I do think you want to just keep people active and not thinking about you. Like the more people aren't saying your name, you know, and the one way to keep people not saying your name is not really trying to make the plans up. Because once you change the plans up, it becomes your plan. And not having Teeny there, it really becomes your plan. Where it's not like, oh, we were talking about it. It's, oh, this is Kishan's plan. And that's kind of Genevieve's words too, where it's kind of like, this isn't a Teeny thing. This is all Kishan. And those things, when you have people enough time to think about it, I think that's what it is. I think you also want to think about, just technically speaking, kind of keeping that power structure dynamic. And, you know, that last vote, knowing Rome had that still a vote, it was dangerous to keep his number one in the game. So.
Yeah, James, moving forward, this is such an interesting tribe now of what is going to happen at the next tribal council. Okay, so you have Genevieve and Rome, who are still a duo, but we've seen that Genevieve also seems to have something going on with Sol. There's a relationship with Teeny that exists that we really haven't seen so much of, and Rome and Sol are still on the same tribe. What is going to happen if they go to another tribal council?
I think the question is, who do you feel who's the safest going to the next tribal council?
Genevieve.
Genevieve is the safest going next tribal council.
I believe so. Do you think differently?
I haven't even had time to really think about it. Like I wonder the dynamics that you can easily just see. Saul's not voting. Saul, Rome, that's an easy. You can get that to work. But they voted together tonight.
They voted together, and I kind of thought that Sol was going to play his shot in the dark, and he didn't.
I mean, you know, so at the end of the day, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you got to figure out, okay, Teeny. I feel like Teeny's gonna work her magic, but it's kind of also. I mean, can you just say take out Rome and now you have
Rome has no advantages left.
Rome has no advantage. He served his purpose, so you know you got to vote in Saul. And then if you vote for Rome, Teeny, was she going to go to rocks for Rome? So I think like you kind of Genevieve's in a really good position where, I mean, will Rome vote out Teeny? I mean, I don't think Rome really cares too much who he votes out, Teeny or Saul. He's probably vote for Saul. So if you vote for Saul, then, you know, Rome's voting, then Teeny's in the middle either way. So
yeah,
she's in a great position.
I think I need this whole group to make the merge now.
I think that would be great because I feel like everybody would split and run and
fight. And it really did look like Rome was going to go home earlier in the episode. And that was probably that you knew Rome wasn't going to go home because it was basically before we saw Teeny go to the journey that it looked like it was locked up against Rome, that he has this performance in the challenge, that he's sort of like in that hero spot of doing the puzzle. He gets 0 pieces. It's like very neck and neck. All 3 tribes get to the puzzle at the same time. Rome, Genevieve's handing a piece. He gets 0 pieces into the puzzle. James, I would have bet anything we were going to get a confessional. Yeah, I could have done the puzzle if I was trying. I threw it. I'm going after Sol tonight. We never got that confessional. Is it possible Rome was throwing the challenge?
I got flashbacks to I was waiting for it to come. Like I'm like, wait, can you just not get any pieces? It's like not any, like 0 connectivity, like not even on the board. Like this is very hard, like to do. Like they practice these things. They have the whole dream team. Jeff talks about these things. They practice. They have people that look just like you, have the same build doing these things.
Yeah.
And not to get one piece, I thought he was like, you have to in your head think you're throwing it. And at that point, when you have power, that's when you want to go to tribal. Like, you don't want to wait until you don't have power to go to tribal, or where you're like, so you have a chance to throw it. It wouldn't be a bad idea if you were really just dead set on getting somebody out, because they tried to do that in 41 and they didn't give it to Erica, and she ended up winning the season. So it's kind of just like you have to pick and choose your battles. But I don't think he didn't say he threw it. I think
he didn't say he threw it, but James, like, two things. Like, one, like, he was trying the puzzle piece. Sol's like, Rome, that's not it. That's not the puzzle piece. Should we switch? Do you want to switch out? It's not the puzzle piece. That's not it. And then after the challenge was over, he kind of did the same sort of like, oh, shucks, I wish I knew, I'm so embarrassed. I wish I could have done it. Like, in the same way that he was like, I lost my vote. What am I going to do? It felt similar to me.
I mean, but also from the Red Tribe, like, out of everybody, no one was really at that point feeling not safe other than Sol. Like, So, I mean, it's kind of like, even if you feel like you're in a good spot, you like, I mean, you kind of, well, they already went to tribal, but you kind of don't mind it. Like, once you've been, you're like, all right, I know some people I want to get rid of, and they're next on the chopping block. So
right,
I'm not really going to, try to, and Rome still has the power. So you want to kick Rome out of the situation. Him and Genevieve can just vote you out anyway.
And isn't that kind of the metagame right now of like, hey, you've got people on your tribe that you don't get along with, go to tribal council and vote them off. That I know I had Tevin on last week, but I feel like that wasn't like that one of the things that were the takeaways from 46 of like, okay, if you have a tribe that's not getting along in the pre-merge, it's not going to just start working once you get to the merge. Like, numbers that don't get along aren't numbers.
I think it's an interesting thing where I think the Reba 4 also is playing a huge role in this season, where you see 4 people from the same tribe sticking together. So now you actually have a blueprint to going far in the game with your tribe mates. So, like, you didn't have that blueprint before 46 of seeing, 4 people from the same tribe with the name Reba 4 really going deep. So I think you have, some teams maybe thinking that way as well. Like, hey, we may actually be able to stick together a little further than normal. So maybe people are trying to build up some more tribe unity. So I think it's an interesting spot where you have that game transposed with the game we just played. So it's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that might be the plan. I don't know which of these tribes is going to be able to execute on that. It doesn't seem like that we have a very cohesive tribe. Maybe the closest that we have is the Gata tribe, and even then we saw some fractures there. Well, but we'll come back around to them. Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the journey tonight. Okay, and so we end up with the amulets are back. We had them in 42. They came back in 45 with Austin Sandwich, and now here they are again, a little bit different. That in 42 and 45, I think that they both had the same mechanic, that it was a steal of a, or it was a extra vote, which became a steal of a vote, which became a full idol. These are an idol anytime you want them. James, that we saw Andy bragging about this, and Caroline and Teeny seemed happy. Do you think that there is more of a chance that we will see these idols used together?
I wouldn't want my vote. I wouldn't even want the amulet. I feel like there's a walk-in vote me out, because I feel like now, right? If someone, you have to work together, but you're still working your part. So if I'm working with Andy, I want to vote out the other amulet people so Andy gets more power. So your alliance members are going to work again. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm that point. I don't even want the amulet. Like, I would rather just like we all could just lose this vote.
Yeah.
Or, that's, I mean, yeah.
But I did think it was very interesting. They all came back and they all told the truth about what they had. I'm not actually, did Teeny I know that Andy and Caroline did.
Andy, Teeny did too. He's like, at least I came back with something.
Okay, at least I came back with something. Because I think that, James, it's an interesting spot for your allies of that. And maybe if it's like, okay, I don't like Rob, let me get rid of him now. But it's also sort of like if we vote, if you all are on the tribe and you're going to vote me out, I have the amulet. Guess what? You just made people on the other tribes more powerful. Like, at least I have some agency. I'm with you. I have some agency in how this thing gets used. You get rid of me. You just made somebody from the yellow tribe and somebody from the blue tribe more powerful.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, I mean, I feel like the beauty of Survivor is everything is kind of a good thing. Where, yeah, it may be kind of a partial, immunity, like maybe small tribe immunity, kind of lower your threat level a little bit, where it's like, okay, we want to make sure keep this person close. Or it could be we want to vote you out and put the target on those two other people going into the merge and make them burn whatever bridges they have. So people are going to think about it differently because the merge is probably coming up the next one or two tribals. So at the end of the day, you're kind of like, how do I position myself so my core three have the majority in these 5-person tribes, right? And that's what you kind of want to think about and focus on. Where's my three? Or where's my majority at going forward?
Yeah. I also thought that it was interesting the way that everybody has been talking about where they stand in the tribe. Now, you went on the journey with Owen and Noel, and you had seen what Survivor 41 had you seen, and some of 42.
I saw everything in 40. No, I think I saw 42. I didn't see everything in 42. I missed when Dre and Marianne vote out. I didn't see that.
Okay. So when you went on the journey, like, how were you thinking about like posturing, like where you were in your tribe? Was that something that was on your mind?
I was just trying to be as non-threatening and get as much information as possible. Because like Noelle was saying everything about her tribe dynamics, which made it, when Cody came, you were able to kind of just put everything together. So you have an idea about what's happening. And you kind of can see I was just trying to get as much information as possible. I didn't care about, getting advantage or losing my votes. I wanted to keep the power that I had in my tribe where I felt I was in a good position. So I'm like, I'm not risking my vote. And I want to make sure that I'm not trying to make any enemies. Little did I know, but I clearly make enemies. But
So I thought that Andy handled it really well, where, he had the whole meltdown on the mat back in episode 1. And he didn't come out and do like a Banu where it was like, oh, I'm at the bottom, help me. If you gotta, like, they're so mean to me. He was like very calm about it. He's like, I'm sort of like in a low information position, which I think was good twofold of like, one, he's like signaling to them, hey, I'm somebody you should pick up. But also it's like, I don't really have any information to give you. So I'm sort of like, nobody tells me anything because I'm at the bottom. And I thought that was like a twofold, like really great thing. And I think that they were like, there was like, they want to work with him.
Yeah, that's going to be stolen and used again.
Yeah.
That is going to be stolen and used again. They may not show it, but someone's going to say, I'm very just low information, low data, low something. Because it does kind of, put it out there. And the way he performed the first challenges, he's already okay. He's pretty much a straight shooter. Clearly, he's willing to do this type of thing. So you already have this built-in kind of he's like kind of likability, trust factor. Just you're being the character that people have seen.
Yeah. So I thought he did a really good job. And then I thought that in terms of who's going to give up their vote, it seemed to me like Teeny folded with a lot of time left on the clock.
Yeah, if I'm going to tribal, I'm not folding. I mean, because I lose my vote either way, right?
You lose your vote either way. And from what Teeny knew going to tribal, and things change, that it looked like they were in a decent spot. But there was a lot. I looked at this twice. There was a lot of sand left in the hourglass when and it looked like Caroline was just about to say, okay, fine, I'll do it.
I think it comes down to you have the biggest excuse. If all three people lose their vote, right?
Yeah.
You can get mad at each other, but you actually have the biggest excuse to everybody else. I was going to tribal. Everybody else was like, you lost your vote for what reason?
Yeah.
But she was going to tribal.
But so, if Teeny is even thinking about it, like, there's no advantage in like buzzing in early, like you got it in your back pocket. you don't gain. There's no advantage for you. Like, you don't get like the most powerful advantage for being the first to buzz in. So wait until there's one grain of sand left and say it.
But that's the game. Like, I mean, you're out there, you're hungry, you're hot. You're like, maybe you want to get back to your tribe. Maybe you're just like, you think that 15 minutes. Maybe you just like, I think I can get in my good graces with these two people at the merge that I may actually want to work with, and maybe they'll remember. But I feel like IOUs get really don't really work in Survivor, but it may be enough to get you through a emergency situation.
Yeah, I just would have waited a couple more minutes or seconds. I don't know how much time was left on the clock, but it seemed like there was some sand left.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm going to tribal. I'm losing my vote regardless. Nope, I can't do it.
You'd be dug in.
Yeah, you got, because that's what you have to do. You have to dig in. You dig in. That's what's happening, and
yeah. Everybody wants to be so friendly.
I mean, but that's like the thing, though. I mean, that's one of the things when you have clear lines, people know where to kind of attack you at. Which you see, Rome and Sol are still in the game because kind of exactly kind of where they're at, and I think you kind of want unified votes, but sometimes it's good to have people on the outside. It's what it is. That's the game too.
And James, Teeny's lost vote was the difference tonight. If Teeny doesn't lose their vote, then I don't think Kishan goes home.
I mean, but that's the thing, though. I mean, that's the tough part about it, where you never are certain in these shows, in these games, and you kind of always have to try to always keep the majority or always keep the strength.
Actually, no, I mean that it could have still well been. So that Teeny and Kishan still have their vote, and then Rome steals Kishan's vote. So yeah, it definitely could have still happened, but it felt like that. Okay, once Teeny's vote isn't in play, it felt like that it was a more foregone conclusion.
Yeah, that's why I think maybe waiting to when they get back to make that move is probably when you kind of want to do it. To not give so much time to think. I think kudos for the idea.
Yeah.
Right. And clearly, I'm pretty sure they've had these Rome conversations before. This isn't the first time they brought up like voting out Rome. This has come up before between on this tribe. So I think it was one of those things where it was a really good idea. I do think that it was just kind of executed a little early, and sometimes you have time to think on things. It allows people to think through and see the next move beyond that.
I thought it was wild that the Gata tribe decided they won the challenge. They get to pick who are you going to send on the journey. They sent Andy, which to me seems like the wildest decision to make, to send from their tribe, because he's the biggest wild card.
I mean, but at the end of the day, he can confirm tribe dynamics that people already think that Sierra and Sam are close, or the two girls or women are working together. I mean, worst case scenario, he loses his vote. It's Andy. He can go. Andy can go. I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah. From Sam's perspective, Andy's going to tell him everything.
Yeah. James,
Sierra,
how are you feeling about the journey these days? Are you feeling like, the boat comes, are you getting in the boat these days, or are you saying to pass?
I'm not trying to go on a journey. I was mad when I got targeted to go on a journey. I feel like you put me on the journey, you're attacking me. That's how I feel. I feel like you're trying to do something. It's not like a save me when you're in a position of power. If you're like a lesser kind of a stout player, or you look like you're out, then it may be like, here you go, break up the tribe. But,
James, I think I've come around to, I think I want to go on the journey. I think that in the beginning of the new era, I'm like, nothing good is coming from the journey. I'm going to lose my vote. I think that the journey provides a couple different things. One, I think I have the opportunity to network across. Now, again, in your case, it doesn't always necessarily work out that way. But I do think that, I thought that what Q did last season was so interesting, with sort of trying to build the alliance across the different tribes. And it hasn't worked yet, But I feel like at some point, like last season, like Maria and Tevin ended up really bonding at the journey. So I think that there's an opportunity for like cross-pollination from the journey. And then I also think I know that it could make people maybe want to vote me out, but I kind of like the idea of maybe people are like a little more scared to target me. He might have something. Maybe we go somewhere else.
I mean, I think it just depends on how you feel about your tri-mates. And I think the thing about this season that's going to be interesting, and I hope, is that I feel like the most solid three is going to be able to kind of go deep, but I don't see any solid threes anywhere, which makes me think that you're going to have like a full-fledged bloodbath at the merge, which is going to
call
be
Sue.
great. Oh, yeah, that was funny.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Gata, I was very surprised that they ended up sending Andy. I also thought that, so this was pretty wild. Okay, so, by the way, as we talk about the Gata tribe, what did you think of Sam's freestyle?
Oh, man. I feel like, he did pretty good for just not having any type of nutrients in the system or, trying to rhyme words out there when you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough, so... he did all right. I wasn't, I mean, he's better than Chris Noble. So
better than Chris Noble. Okay.
I mean, that's top 2 of Survivor rappers.
Okay, so we saw where Andy talks to Sierra. Sierra tells Andy about the breadwinners. That's the all-women alliance. Then Andy is like, I'm feeling so good about Sam. I'm going to tell Sam about that Sierra told me about the Breadwinners Alliance. I thought Sam made a mistake tonight. I thought that Sam goes to Sierra and tells Sierra, hey, so you tell Andy about the name of the alliance and you don't tell me? I'm telling you, like, again, this is, I know that this is not a romantic relationship, but as somebody who's been in many fights in a romantic relationship, I could tell you, like, if Sam wants to keep Andy, don't go to Sierra with a problem about something that Andy did, because now Sierra's going to say, see, I can't trust Andy. Andy's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things that you can do in this game, a player survivor, is restraint. It's like having information and sitting on it. That's why I give Gabler credit for sitting for I don't know how many days on LE, going through his bag. Like, it takes a lot to sit on information. Sam couldn't sit like an hour without saying, what's up with this all-girls alliance? But in Sam's position, though, he did vote off, John Lovett when he could have voted off somebody else. He gave up the 3-2. He gave up the 3-guy alliance type thing that may have been going on or may not have been going on. He gave that up. And then you start hearing women's alliance. And, sometimes it gets people paranoid.
But I don't even think that the women's alliance was what bothered him. The fact that she gave him this specific piece of information that she had not told to him, and that he had to address it with her, and then now that there's this wedge between them. Like, he could have just like, oh, interesting, duly noted. She didn't tell me about that. Still, vote out Annika at the next tribal council, and then you can bring it up. But now Sierra has options, and if Sam pushes too hard with, why didn't you tell me about this? Well, maybe Sierra starts thinking, hey, you know what? This women's alliance isn't such a bad thing. Like, nobody's mad at me over here.
I mean, I think that's kind of what you want to be, that person with options, right? So now what you have now is who's in the middle now? Andy's in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at one point, Sam was in the middle. At one point, it was all the women were coming to Sam and were like, hey, we're going to vote out Andy. And Sam was like, hey, maybe I don't want to vote out Andy. Maybe I'll vote out Annika. Now it's Sierra's the person who's the swing in the middle.
I mean, that's why I feel like it's very interesting where, you're trying to figure out who's your 3 within these 4. Like, how are you maintaining your majority? At least that's how, like, I'm thinking, like, how do you keep my majority, or what does my majority look like? And what's my vote after the first vote look like? Which is, it's good to get that first vote out your system. The question is, how can I keep the numbers on my side? And it's very hard to keep a target the same. It's hard to keep people pinned down because people are building relationships, and it's hard to keep things the status quo.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting tribe to watch moving forward and see what happens there. I want to talk about what went on over on the Tuku tribe. And we really just had the one scene with them. First off, it was kind of a wild moment with everything with Sue is lying about her age. She talked about how everybody, she's got them all fooled because, I think she's actually 58, but she's telling everybody how she's 45. But she's talking about 45. She is like, hey, I'm 45. I don't need a wheelchair. I don't need I'm like, man.
I think Sue, I feel like Sue, I don't know if people think she's 45. They just know, I feel like they know she's older and they know that she's pretty strong and fit. So I think, it kind of comes with a grain of salt. Most women don't talk about their age, or a lot of women don't talk about their age. So I feel like it's kind of one of those tongue-in-cheek things. I do think it's good that everybody seems to want to trust and build a relationship with her at the present moment. So she's doing something right. And it's funny, it maybe being 58 would have been a good place to be where people do think you're weaker or you're older. Maybe that is the way to go. I mean,
I don't think it would have been if she said her real age. I don't think anybody would have, held that against her. But anyway, James, this was so interesting and such a great moment on the show when she ends up getting the beware advantage and goes to go look for it. Now, first off, James, are you surprised that we end up getting a second pre-merge beware advantage on the Tuku tribe? Because now the chat, the beautiful thing about the chat, they're going to correct me if I'm wrong. But in the past, in the new era, okay, and we've seen a pre-merge idol play or two that it just is then a regular idol is hidden. I feel like that this is the first time that I can recall that we have a beware advantage gets played and then it gets replaced with another beware advantage.
Yeah, I think this is just trying to get somebody caught. I feel like this is one of those we want to cause chaos ideas, and I'm here for it. Where it was a hard idol to it wasn't it was a beware advantage, but it kind of was no one's going to randomly look at this random rope and vine. So you're going to find this advantage. The map was very clear. That was the clearest map I've seen of something on the island, so you knew right where to go.
Yeah.
But I think they just wanted to see, okay, how are they going to get this advantage and navigate all this red paint around the advantage?
Yeah. I see in the chat, I'm getting a question about, what about Drea's red-handed idol? I believe that was a secret advantage
that was a knowledge
she found.
Power that we don't need to talk about anymore. It's because there's no knowledge of power with it.
Yes. That was to get the knowledge is power. Is that how she got that?
I'm 95% sure, and the chat will correct us if I'm wrong.
Yes. Okay. All right. So when the thing falls down and the red paint goes everywhere, that was fantastic. I loved it.
Once again, where are people at? This late, all right, Rob, you play Survivor. For those out there that play Survivor, you leave camp. If someone leaves camp with a machete walking to the water well, you're kind of
James, in fairness, the hidden immunity idol wasn't invented yet when I played Survivor. Okay, so if somebody left with the machete, you were just I guess that guy is gonna maybe go kill people with that.
My apologies, Rob.
Yes.
But it's kind of just where is this person going? For this nice period of time, but clearly there's no Romes on that tribe, so
yeah,
they're good.
What'd you think of Sue's poker face when Caroline and Tiana comes up?
I feel like they're not thinking anything, and they may think about it in the future. It may be something that comes up in the future, but I feel like I feel like it wasn't a good poker face, but I feel like they weren't really paying attention either. I don't know if they caught on to it, or they were just she doesn't want to really talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So But
I don't
poker
know.
face, I would say 5 out of
Sue
10.
is only one letter away from sus, James.
So, no, I mean, but it's kind of like I feel like she's got enough equity. You know, she has her tight duo there, right? So now you have a duo with Gabe, that's 3. A duo with Tiana, that's 3. A
Mm-hmm.
duo, but not with Kyle. So like she's feeling it like she's in a good place right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come back to hurt her, but they're like, "Oh, is that blood on you?" She's like, "Oh, nah, it's nothing. It's nothing. I was playing with the machete. It's fine. It's fine." Wait, is that what's up? What's up? Like, oh,
Nope.
I bit my tongue. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just like horsing around.
Now, if Sue gave herself a little rock cut, now that would have been elite. Like that would have been elite just to cover it up for real. It's like,
Yeah, I think that Sue needs to have it be the perfect crime. Then I think she needs to fake an injury at the end.
no.
Like, help me.
Oh,
Help me. But maybe that goes against the whole thing. Like, hey, I'm 45. I don't need a cane. I don't need a wheelchair.
But I mean, yo, she like I mean, she felt like she found an idol. Let's get like I'm giving kudos. Like, I mean, I think there was a lot. I feel like I forgot which former survivor was talking about this, looking for idols and how there was this worship men and women, and you got Sue, a 58-year-old woman, finding the idol. You know, like I wanted to find the idol, I didn't do it, so I'm just kudos to Sue out there. You got to work out there, you know. She's still working, you know.
Yeah, kudos to Sue. She has a full-powered idol. I believe that is the only one in the game that she has that we end up with. The only other person with an idol are the amulets that are out there, and then Sam has a one tribal council idol. So Sue, far and away, leader in the clubhouse in terms of powerful advantages.
And who knows about Sue's idol at the moment?
Nobody. And that's really been the most powerful thing with the hidden immunity idol.
That and I'm an advocate. So I'm a strong believer in letting your allies kind of know certain things depending on the situation and when it's called for. But I feel like you need to have someone help you use the idol correctly nowadays in the new era. But I think you want to start off just not having people just know when you have it, so you can kind of think about it and maybe try to plan a good way to kind of think about how you want to use it.
James, let me ask you, after last week's episode, you had tweeted, hey, I need to get on a Survivor podcast. I have things to say. What was on your mind so much after last week's episode?
I just thought that it was so interesting to vote, just from a sense of when you're thinking about just how, like, what was the better situation? Having, like, you know, this whole season has been like a situation of what's the next vote? What's better for me? So, like, John versus Nika. You know, like now, how does that really look when, like, as far as every single, like, kind of twosome is like, am I really in a better place because of this vote? Except for the TK vote, where I feel like, I don't know if they're going to travel anymore, but we don't, I feel like they just are what they are. Where it's kind of like you make this vote and now you have to, the ramifications are, I'm in the middle now. So you vote out Genevieve, right? Or you split the votes. Now you vote together, you vote strong, you split the votes, you come together. Now you're a group of 4. You have this one guy here. Maybe Rome gets the puzzle done. And then you don't go to tribal, but now you have a more comfortable possible 3 to kind of move forward with. Same thing with Sam. You know, if that doesn't work out with him, now it's like you kind of had John, you kind of had Tier always, you kind of had Andy, so you had that 4. So that first vote is really setting you up for the kind of the permutations happening afterwards and kind of what's happening in the game and how you're positioning yourself and moving forward.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I'm following what you're saying. So your 6-person tribe, the first vote, what are you looking for?
I think you try to look for how do you have the most power going into how, like, what dynamics can you keep stagnant in your favor going to the next vote? So, like, if you have 2 sides, you're like, okay, I want to make sure I have those 2 sides still bickering and I'm in the middle. How do I keep that going? I feel like that's probably the best way you want to be with regards to being in the middle, you know, where you're able to kind of make sure and keep those things the status quo and make things. So, like, the question is, you knew you had 2 solid women paired with Anika and Rachel on that team.
Right.
Now you had John that wanted to work with you and vote out Anika. So the question is, where was John's 3 majority coming from without you and Sierra if Anika goes home.
Mhm.
Him and Andy still are on the aisle. Like, so it's kind of like it's like where can you fit and how can you maneuver those things? And I think it's been interesting watching that.
So to go back to last week's episode, did you like the decision, just from like a positioning standpoint, that Kishan and Teeny made last week to go after one of Aysha or Sol and leave Rome and Genevieve in the game?
I think the problem is they like Genevieve a lot, right? So I think this is the Genevieve thing where it's like, if it was Rome and somebody they didn't really vibe with a lot, then you split the two too. But I think Genevieve plays a very important part in that. But I think the best move if I'm Keyshawn and Teeny there would be to split the votes, only because when Rome got that still a vote, you now know him and Genevieve, have all the power, that next vote, So, like, who do you really, want to trust? And that's where Genevieve has really been the hidden person that
she really was. And we saw we saw that Aysha was the vote last week, and we never really got Genevieve's like finger on the scale. I wonder if Genevieve looked at Aysha in that tribe as being like, it's either me or her. Like, one of us is going to be the person who's running this tribe, and it's going to be me.
I don't think it was that. I think it was kind of more of I don't even know if, I think for her, she knew she was on the other side of that vote. And I feel like she did the math. I feel like she's thinking long term. Like, I feel like she's trying to make moves that are going to long term put her in a good place. And I don't think she cared between Saul and Aysha. So I'm trying to, and I think you had challenges, and Saul's been a beast in challenges. So I think it may came down to challenges. I don't think Genevieve strikes me as the type that is like super intimidated by anybody. So I feel like I feel like she's not one of those players that's like, oh, we had to get this player out of here because I feel like they're going to run things. She's playing with Rome. And I feel like, oh, she's confident enough to let Rome be Rome. She can still vote Rome out, but she chooses not to. Yeah. And that restraint. So I think she's just a really, chill player that, sometimes you have to read between the confessional lines and kind of see who's not, getting the screen time. And maybe they are doing a lot of good things.
I thought that one of the really great moments for Genevieve in the episode was the conversation she had with Sol. And it was like, boy, like if there was ever like a post-Rome world, like, look at us. Like, I really feel like, wouldn't it be great if you and I could work together? I know we've had our differences. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, and I think Genevieve's in her mid-30s and Saul's early 40s. So I think when you had that age group, again, when you have a lot of young energy, I feel like there's something that kind of can bring kind of quote unquote older players together by new Survivor Scanners together, like as far as, hey, we are adults out here and we can have these conversations, and Saul's a person and that I think everybody can talk to in that tribe except for Rome. Where everybody kind of likes him except for, and I don't even know if Rome doesn't like him. I feel like it's kind of just like they're just playing.
Rome talked about it like a brotherly, back and forth. I don't think that Sol is looking at Rome as a brother. I think he's looking at him as like some, who are you to talk to me that way? He said, is this real life at one point?
Yeah, I feel like Rome is like when you're talking trash playing Fortnite or Call of Duty, and it's kind of like you like your friends. You're just in their face. Hey, do this. And you go back to kind of being boys. And Saul, I don't think Saul is really from that world. Saul's like, yo, bro, take it. I can respect you making the approach. Like, I get it, but come with a little tact. Like, we're playing the game, I get it, but there's a way you go about doing things, and you kind of, I get it.
There's one other moment I really loved from tonight where they're at the tribal council and they're talking about, okay, it's very tense and what's going to happen next. And Genevieve just says this.
Spooky, scary, right?
It is spooky, scary season, James.
I mean, yeah, tribal is a very scary kind of place to be. And you're making
a lot of skulls, a lot of bones.
I mean, there's fire, there's Jeff. You can go home. Like,
there's smoke. It is spooky, scary.
Spooky. I mean, yeah, it's dark. Like, you don't know what's out there. Like,
yeah. You know what? In 47 seasons, I don't think they've ever referred to Tribal Council as spooky.
Have we seen the set?
James, my hot take on the Survivor Tribal Council sets, and you were there. You were there recently, and you would know. I've said this last season. They should just build one and leave it. They don't need to knock it down and build the same exact thing every single season.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like sometimes they
it's not even like that they have players back. We're like, oh, I've seen it already. Every new person, they keep bringing new people in.
Rob, I feel like Scary Survivor is going to be season 51.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here for it. Like, I feel like after giving the number error after 50, like, Scary Survivor.
It's so dark, you can't even see it.
I like it. Try to scare contestants. Like, we're walking up with the torches. This, yell at us. Like, we're already hungry. Let's go for it. Fully.
Yeah. Haunted house.
Yes.
Okay. James, let's take some questions. If you have questions for us here on the post-game show, you can post them in the chat, and then we can go ahead and take them here. Okay. Elizabeth is asking, was it a mistake for Rachel to push away Andy in episode 1? Now she might be in an alliance of 2 on a tribe of 5.
I mean, well, we don't necessarily know if they haven't recovered yet. Not going to tribal council has a way of, healing a lot of wounds. And I don't think Andy is a player that's not receptive to, being, a third. So we're not even seeing that side. Maybe Rachel and Andy are still kind of close together, and they feel they have a 3-2, whereas the 2 girls and Andy and Sierra's the 4th. Like, we don't know. And I think that's the one thing that, I come down and try to look at when I'm watching the show is like, okay, what aren't we seeing? Like, what relationships could possibly be there that maybe were there before that they kind of fade to the background, where Andy is probably now more of a swing vote than we even believe on that side.
I don't think it's necessarily a day one thing. I think it was sort of like the tribe made a decision thing. And I feel like that for Rachel and Annika, I think they're just feeling like, okay, Andy's the next person to go home no matter what. Let's just there's no point in really trying to, let's just appease him. But, I don't think they feel like Andy is vindictive towards them.
Right. And like, I don't think Andy, I feel like, I feel like they feel like they can go to Andy and maybe get a vote out of him. I wonder who, do they know about Sam's idol? Like, this tribe is fascinating. Like, so you're not targeting Sam, you're not targeting Andy, you're not targeting, so I'm fascinated by what's happening on that tribe where you think Sam's not going home, you don't think Sierra's going home. So like, is Andy just walking around here like, I know I'm the bottom guy? Like, how? Like, which is probably tough to
I think
do.
he is walking around that way. He lost his shot in the dark in this episode. And there was a funny segment where Sam was calling him the survivor George Costanza. I'm not sure if I would describe Andy as a George Costanza. He's honestly, he's giving Kramer a little bit more so far than George Costanza.
Yeah. I think Andy's in a great spot, man. Like, I wish you could, like, there's a way to artificially lower your threat level, and then you could just come up and be everybody's friend. Like, that's a good way to go far in this game. Like, be everybody's friend. No one's thinking about you, pro or con.
Where everybody's Seinfeld.
Everybody's Seinfeld. You know what's funny? I've only watched like 2 episodes of Seinfeld. Only 2.
Which 2?
I forgot. It's a while ago. Like, I haven't seen a Seinfeld episode in like over 20 years.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll send you a couple.
Is it on Netflix? Maybe
it is on Netflix.
That. Maybe I'll try a couple of episodes.
You can bounce around. You don't have to watch 178 in order.
I need a top 3.
Top 3. Okay. Help me give James Jones the list of top 3 Seinfeld episodes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That we can do for you. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. But yeah, are we talking about 80? I feel like 80's in this really good spot where you see once you lower your threat level, people the game is fast. Like, people it's hard for them to reevaluate, if you're improving. And also, some people adapt better, like day 1 in Survivor, day 2 and day 3, than someone does sometimes. So by the time day 7, day 8, day 9 has come, that Survivor, that moxie is kind of evened out a little bit, where they're a better player than they were day one. They couldn't
Yeah.
sleep. They didn't have food. They were nervous. They ate. They're a lot better than day one, but you still look at them like they were day one. So I think there's a lot to kind of starting off slow in the game.
James, which of the 3 tribes do you think will go to tribal council? I expect that there will be one more tribal before we get to the merge. So who do you think is going to go back to tribal council before we get to mergatory?
Ooh. I'm going, I think Red makes it a 3-peat.
Red 3 in a row. And then who goes home?
I think Rome.
Wow. That would be that'd be wild.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the case. Or if Gata goes, I think Annika goes.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
Yeah, I could see that. I also feel like that I could see the blue tribe at tribal council again.
I think I think they have like one of this. I think they have a strong tribe. Like I don't. I mean, I think with Gabe and Kyle, they're strong. I feel like the next challenge is going to be 4 people max. So Gabe, Kyle, I think they're in the Tiana is super strong. So I feel like they have like a strong tribe that's going to be able to make it through. They work together.
But I feel like that Gabe has gotten his way so much so far, and I feel like that Gabe says that Tiana is a person that he doesn't want to work with, and I could see.
But we know the previews, Rob. We know the preview.
Tell me the preview.
The preview of him and Tiana arguing means that neither one of them are going to go home, and it's not going to be from that tribe.
Okay. All right, let's do some teeny questions. Janelle said, if you're teeny, what's your next move?
Teeny's good. You lost your number 1, but, that's not necessarily a bad place to be. You have an amulet that you're supposed to bring with 2 other people. Now you're kind of still have Rome and you still have Sol beefing. Kishan's a wild card. I didn't vote. I mean, I wasn't really for that one. However, you didn't vote, so you can stay away from everything. It's a great situation for you.
Yeah, I really thought tonight you saw that Kishan could have been a player. I really do think that he had like a really high upside in this episode. In the first 3 episodes, I felt like, he made the fire. I didn't really see a ton from him as a player, but tonight I was really starting to see it. I thought he was really like starting to come into his own.
No, he's one of the like a new era survivor beasts, whereas these players who are very unassuming, like Omar, where you're like, oh, they're unassuming. They're super polite, but in their head they're thinking like, what move can I make to really to decapitate your dreams of winning or your alliance, right? And I think now when you are in a power position, sometimes you want to keep those players, right? But sometimes those players are players you want to get out versus a player like Sol, where exactly where he stands, like where Saul is against Rome, like you saw like no matter what happens, Saul is against Rome, so that gives you those factors where Kishan has more options than a Saul, so and it's and he's willing to use his options, which may be scary to you that's in power. So like, what do? Do you leave that person in the game or you take them out? I think sometimes you're like, oh, they're loyal to me, I'm gonna keep them in the game, but we see here. Sometimes you gotta take them out, and I don't think that's a bad move too.
Okay. Ben has a question. Is Teeny set up extremely well now for the merge? They told Andy and Caroline that Rome or Saul was going home, so they clearly appear on the outs and could be easy to pick up. I mean, I had said all along, James, if Teeny gets to the merge, watch out.
They are one of these players where it's kind of like, I, as a player, would be scared of them. But I don't know how many players would be scared of a Teeny, where I feel like eventually they may catch on to it, but they may be a casualty where I don't see Teeny having that much control. But Teeny is almost like a Marianne, where it's hard to maintain control in the game. Sometimes it's better to pick up steam and get it towards the end. And that's what we see in the new era, where she'll be coming into the merge. She doesn't have her number 1. That also makes them more malleable, meaning that they're not coupled to anybody. So now they can make moves with all the tribes, and now she has to end with Andy. She has to end with. So I feel like they're in a really good place, and I'm excited to see what Teeny does.
So, James, I thought it was also super interesting that we got from Teeny's perspective how Teeny would not vote for Asia last week. That Teeny couldn't bring themselves to vote out Asia at that previous vote, and wrote down Sol's name, and then felt like, okay, this is really going to come back to bite me, and then ultimately told Sol about that. So I just thought that was an interesting part of the Teeny story so far.
So I wonder how much Kishan was pushing for Asia then. Like, so
I think that he and Genevieve, I think, were much more like, I think that if I had to guess, I feel like that Teeny was the person who was the most like, hey, what about the Asia thing? Mm-hmm. And Kishan and Genevieve were like, no, like no, we can't work with Asia. Like we're doing the Rome thing.
I think that's what it is, and I think that's kind of. So I feel like Teeny's in a place where they're going to be a really good free agent. Because sometimes when you get to the merge, you're tethered to your number one, good, bad, or indifferent as a duo. But now you have all these juicy targets in front of you, these juicy duos in front of you. You have Sam and Sierra if they make it to the merge. You have Anika and Rachel if they make it to the merge. You have these nice, juicy Rome and Genevieve if they make it to the merge. Hey, these two are thick as thieves. They were running and they blindsided me with my number one, and now I'm by myself. So Sol's going to corroborate that story. I hate Rome. So I mean, you kind of want to be a wounded a little bit going in the merge. If you make it past that beginning stage of merge, you become a very dangerous player.
Okay. How about Rames 28? I thought it was smart for Caroline to tell the truth to her tribe instead of lie. Better to tell the truth early than to get caught up in a lie later. What do you think about these people that go on the journey, James?
I think this is one of those things where three people know, like it's all like there's like you hide it for what 6 days, and then now you get to.
Did you tell the truth when you came back from your journey?
I did, but it was easy. I didn't like I told him everything. Yeah, Noel had the advantage of what was happening. I did. But did they believe me? I don't think Lindsay believed me. Like, I mean, like you can tell that. I feel like that's the one thing you can tell.
She was in the chat before. Lindsay, did you believe James?
Lindsay did not believe me. If Lindsay is still there, I feel like it was like 75% she didn't believe me. She was just like, he can't be this person. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to think, you want to lie the least amount as possible. Like you want to have the least amount of lying you do. Now you want to lie, but you want to lie. You don't want to just tell lies for no reason.
Okay. All right. Sean has a question. Do we think that Sue will keep this idol a secret, or will she tell Gabe or even Caroline?
Ooh. So Sue is Gabe's number one and Caroline's number one. Like I feel like you tell no one until you kind of have a chance to use it, because I think an idol, is I think Sue's a long-term time fan. An idol is just going to be good for changing a vote, especially going into the merge. Having an idol that no one knows about, and if you know the vote, you can impact one vote, and that one vote can get you far. And it may not be saving it for yourself, but it may be using it to stop a vote that you know about or to save an ally. So I think she's going to keep it wrapped up until she needs to. But I think she tells Caroline first.
I think she'll tell Caroline. I don't know about Gabe. Maybe at the right time she'll tell Gabe, but I wonder if maybe the thing that Kyle told her about how, Gabe just wants to take you to the end so he can beat you, maybe that gives her pause.
I think that would give her pause, but also it's she. Also, I just think her and Caroline, they're together. They have strength, and I feel like they can also pull in Tiana with all women. So I feel like she's just in this really good spot where she doesn't have to need to tell anybody, and she doesn't feel the pressure to. So I think sometimes I haven't held anything like that, like idol, but not having the pressure.
You acknowledge his power.
I just wanted a safety without power, a still a vote, extra vote, any other advantage other than knowledge power. Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you could have had those things if somebody else had them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go back there.
Yeah.
Kind of just, but
Okay.
yeah, but no,
All right. Well, I don't mean to bring that up, James. Okay.
yeah.
Thundercats has a question for you, James. Okay. Professor of the threat level, was Rome giving Sol an ultimatum or was it a threat?
I mean, can it
Do you
be
see a
both?
big distinction there?
I mean, it's kind of both. I mean, at the end of the day, but you're playing Survivor. Like, some things are matter of fact where I think that's something that happens where you think about the game like, hey, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. But some things are just very matter of fact. And, like, no matter how they're said, it kind of is what it is, where Rome could have been more tactful, but there's no real nice way of saying, let me get your shot in the dark or I'm voting you out. Like, you can't
Yeah.
say that.
So I can't vote you
way.
out and you don't play your shot in the dark.
So if you're having this conversation, it's going to be a hard conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of whatever happens, So at the end of the day, I feel like from a threat level standpoint, I think Rome knows that people are looking at him and people are looking at him as someone they want to get out. So at the same time, his job and what he's been doing is trying to keep power. How do you keep power? By being loyal to people, and also doing things to kind of, like Tini was saying, Rome was out there with Saul protecting the fort. People know Rome is bought into the fort. Part of the reason why they felt like they can blindside Rome is because Rome was bought into the fort. So there's some level of trust that Rome is displaying that people have to give Rome respect for that for his game, where he's out there doing his thing, but his thing is demonstrating loyalty.
Yeah.
And he's not a real villain. Like, come on now.
I mean, Gabe has talked
isn't.
about this, but I think Rome does have like the Russell thing where he's very loyal to his people and very like not so nice to the people that aren't too loyal to him.
I mean, that's Survivor. That's how it's supposed to be. But it's just kind of like we haven't had people that were just more matter of fact, because I think everybody wants to be subtle and nice. Where he's like, oh, whatever, this is what it is.
Well, I think that ultimately it's a game about trying to win over favor from the people that you vote out, and then ultimately like have options to work with throughout the game, especially in the new era. So I think that this is like where it didn't even work for Russell back when Russell was doing it. So I can't imagine that now is the right time to bring that style of gameplay back.
Yeah, however, it is... It is. We're still in. I call it group, but we're still in small tribes. So I mean, he has enough time when you get to the merge, and maybe it's a small tribe thing. Maybe he gets to the merge and he kind of takes a back seat a little bit at the merge, and then comes back up. I mean, we don't with Rome. I don't think we know. So maybe he has another gear to kind of shift down or shift up.
Okay.
Only time will tell.
And then James, Stephen Kaz has a question. James Jones, any tips for aspiring chess players?
Man, be comfortable losing and just play people better than you.
Yeah.
Like,
do you still play a lot of chess, James?
I definitely do not.
Okay.
But I do play when I get a chance to recreationally. Like, if I see some people playing on the street, I'll stop and play a game.
Wow.
Yeah. The people still do that. It's kind of like, it's like an art, like an old science. You're just walking down the street and some old guys, typically older guys, have a chess set out. You're like
a 45-year-old?
I'm as a 40-year-old, almost 40-year-old. I know what
a 45-year-old guy in a wheelchair.
I can't call a 45-year-old guy old. But yes, those 45-year-olds, us senior citizens in our 40s, like playing chess outside the barbershop or at a coffee shop.
Yeah,
it's always fun running into one of those games and having some fun.
What was the heyday of your chess career?
Man, probably like middle school, high school. Like, I mean, like I started playing basketball, running track more so. And like chess, I think people don't really get, like, when you're playing it, especially competitively, you're like studying.
You're
like
in it
2-3 hours a day. Like, you're memorizing. Tournament games could be up to 6 hours. Like, me with ADHD playing a 6-hour game, and those things like happen. Like, where you're literally there. You're playing 7 games a weekend. No, it's not like that crazy.
Wow.
But you really are. You could have like 2 5-hour matches in one day. Like, that's not like unheard of, and that happens a lot. So
and
I kind of
did you find chess to be something that was really good preparation for Survivor?
I feel like thinking about just all types of angles where everybody's coming from. Where like you want to present options when you're playing, like and understand the options that you present are bad for other people. Like so, if you have an option and it's a bad option for someone else and it's blatantly bad, how are you going to position that option, or do you even present that option? They may look at it as a slap in the face. I mean, hey, I'm victim of not thinking, hey, Owen, you want to sit out? Like, I mean, no one is perfect.
Yeah.
But I do think trying to being able to figure out, okay, what is this person trying to do? And then how do I counteract that? Or how can I preemptively strike whatever is happening where I know this is a good move for me, but what's a good move for them? Or how can I frame this as a good move for them?
Yeah.
Like, and thinking about that with all your conversations you're having out there where this is good for you and figuring out what that person is trying to do. So that's what kind of chess is.
James, I think at first blush, you might think about like, okay, all right. So if Survivor is like chess, I'm thinking about it like all the other players are my pieces on the board. How do I move these people? But is a better analogy is like you're playing like 17 different chess matches against the other people, and each one is like a different, okay, how am I playing against this one? How am I playing against this one?
Yeah, you want to constantly reevaluate like who's against the board. And that's how chess masters can play 17 people or 10 people at once, because you're making moves on each individual game. And when you're doing that, you're ascertaining like what's their style, what's their temperament, and you're trying to figure out what things are going to push them the right way or to your way. And sometimes you calculate right and sometimes you calculate wrong. Like with me and Noelle, I was like, okay, Noelle, I know you're an athlete, you're a sports, you want to play with the big dogs. We're out here, I got your back, XYZ. The whole time, she wants me out. Like, it's just kind of like you make a bad calculation about kind of what's happening there because you think this is what they want, or like you think this gives them security. So I think you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I get the people that I'm playing with to feel secure with me and present options to them that make sense for their security. Yeah. And, in chess, you're trying to get the other player to make a mistake, or you're trying to, push the issue. Either way, you're still trying to drive a mistake by the other player first. And then that's typically how most games go, where the person that makes the biggest mistake first loses. But you have to capitalize on that mistake at the same time.
Okay, James, the chat has one more question for you about... James wants to know, do you have any guesses for what the twist Jeff mentioned in the preview could be?
I think we're gonna have a little tribe swap action.
Okay.
I think we have some tribe swap.
Tribe swap to 3, or is it possible that Steven in the chat says that were there only 2 challenge colors in the tribe next week?
Wait.
Could we go from 3 tribes to 2 tribes?
That would be epic. Like if that happens. I feel like that would be a very epic thing to happen.
So we're down to what, 14? 2 tribes of 7?
If we are down to 14, I love that. I love that. And I feel like it's better, me. I murder stories, but I hate these half immune stuff, yo. Have people play and let's play Survivor. Like these split people off in halves and let's lower. No, like 7. Let's go. I like this.
Let's go.
Take it 7. Yeah, 7. Couple votes. Let's have it go. I like this.
Okay. All right, James. Anything else you want to say about Survivor?
No, man. I'm thoroughly enjoying this season. I just tell people do not understand that this game is a very hard game. We get up here, we talk, and we say about moves, but there's no right way to play this game. There's no wrong way to play this game. There is dumb stuff you can do, but what you cannot do, what you should not do, is chastise the players personally.
Why? Who's doing that? The people on Twitter?
Hey, man, I don't know, but I just want people to, treat our Survivor people with grace. I don't want us to become the Big Brother folks, so.
Oh, it's rough out there, James.
It's rough in those Big Brother streets. The hashtag BB26.
It's rough out there. I mean, even we talked about Aysha last week, and she's looks like she's ready to take this whole game on. Ultimately, gets on like a tribe that the whole thing goes sideways. But even Kishan also, where what did he do wrong? He said the wrong name in the fake plan, and then that's why he loses.
Yeah, like survive. Like my man Al Pacino said it during my favorite speech in the worst football played movie. It's
Yeah,
about
any given
inches.
Sunday?
Any given Sunday, you fight for that inch. And like the one thing, there's like one thing you can say that can literally turn you off to somebody, and that's just kind of what it is. It takes one thing that can have that lightning bulb go off on that player that wasn't really thinking, thinking about food, was tired. It's like you don't know what those things are, and that's the thing about Survivor is like you're walking around on little mines, and you never know when you're going to step on one in somebody's head when you don't anticipate it. You're
Mm-hmm.
just regular conversation, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden you didn't trigger them, good, bad, or indifferent.
James, how's everything going outside Survivor?
Everything is good. Landlording is overrated.
Yes?
The Eagles are definitely not my favorite right now. I'm excited for the Sixers upcoming season. Very
Yes.
excited for that. Life is good. I'm pretty blessed for the most part. I'm excited about the future of Survivor and all the fake pre-gaming that is happening for 50.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing all the speculation on Twitter and socials and the Reddits about trips,
Yep.
Survivor alum, and who's going to go.
That's the place to get it.
Yeah.
You grilling anything good these days?
Good question. I probably, for those who don't know, I really do like to make food and cook food. So I probably will be grilling a rack of ribs and some crabs, or maybe some lamb this weekend.
Wow.
One of those three.
What? What? Not all three.
Not all three. I'm trying to slim down. I may get that call. It's like, no,
Okay.
Joking.
Okay. All right. James, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon because we'll be together 1 week from tonight in New York City. That we have a couple of tickets left. Go to robbinswebsite.com/NYC47. All the Survivor stars will be there. So you want to come on out and watch whatever this twist is going to be. We'll find out about it in person coming up next Wednesday night. Very excited for that coming up in just one week's time. So looking forward to that one, James.
Hey, I'm going to be up there, so look forward to seeing everybody in New York. I know there's going to be a lot of survivors in the building, so alumni is always good to kick it with those folks.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
We might have 47 alumni also, by the way. So it's going to be a jam-packed house at the live show coming up next week. robbinswebsite.com/NYC47. Patrons, by the way, also, we are doing a meetup on Tuesday night, the night before. It's patron only. That information should be up on Patreon at patreon.com/RHAP.
Yeah. I love Gabler. I'm sorry.
Wait, hold on, wait, let's go back. Okay, what's up with Gabler?
No, he just sent me a text. Gabler's that person.
What was his take?
Gabler, no, he was just tuning in. He's just like, he just said, go James. But like,
go James.
But like, those are the things where he's just like, it's Gabler. Like, that's my guy, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. That I had said that I feel like that could Andy potentially go on a Gabler-esque run this season, James. Guy on the Yellow Tribe looks like down and out in the first episode. People are counting him out, trying to get back under the radar.
I mean, I feel like the story he can tell.
Is he millennial Gabler?
He could be. I think he's Gen Z though, or Gen whatever after millennial. What's that?
I think he's in his early 30s. Yeah. I don't know if that's quite Gen Z.
Oh, okay, maybe that is millennial. I'm just an older millennial. My bad. So yeah,
I think he's a baby millennial.
I think in this new age, I feel like once you hit the verge, it's a whole different game. And it's kind of how are you able to describe and frame your game? And I feel like what Andy's doing a good job is explaining his game, but not being too down on it. Meaning like I am at the bottom per se, but I'm like not as like upset about it. And I feel like it's just a kind of path to the end. And I feel like he has a story to say that you guys all counted me out. I started off here, I ended here, and during that path up, he's going to have to make a move or two, or maybe he doesn't have to. He can frame a story. You guys brought me here. Thank you very much. Cut me the check.
Yeah. Look, it's not the craziest thing in Survivor to be starting at the bottom and end up at the top. Harder to start at the top and stay at the top.
I completely agree. It's hard to keep the momentum of one, having control, and then people knowing you have control. Because, it's easy in the beginning, but as time goes on, people aren't like bad players anymore. The baseline Survivor player is pretty like good. So they're not going to continue to be on the wrong side of the vote and they get down to 7 and let you keep going and get to the end. It doesn't happen.
Okay. All right. So that's next week. We will be live in New York City. Shannon Gus is going to hold it down in this spot in 1 week's time. Then, this is very exciting. James, it's been 10 years since all the brains and brawn and beauty hit the beach on Survivor Cagayan. It was the spring of 2014, and all year long we've been working on a documentary called I Stand Cagayan, featuring some of your favorite players and podcasters getting together to talk about a magical season that hit the air 10 years ago. And I'm thrilled to announce publicly for the very first time that we will have the world premiere of the RHAP original I Stand Cagayan, which is a documentary really in the style of, James, did you ever watch the I Love the 90s?
I believe so, but that was so far ago too.
Well, yes, I love the 2000s. I love the 80s. So we went back, we did a ton of interviews, and really the brain trust of Amanda Rabinowitz, Matt Scott, and Lindsay Wilson really put their heads together. Ooh. This is, people are really going to love this. We are having our world premiere in Philadelphia, James. I'm hoping that you can be there. That's going to be at October, appropriately 28 on your calendar. Philadelphia, I'll be there. Rob has a website.com/Cagayan screening. It's not going to be a huge theater like we're doing the New York show. So tickets are limited. If you want to be with us there in person, to be the first to screen the film for some Q&A, maybe a little after party after, Rob has a website.com/Cagayan screening. Then everybody else can see it when we drop it on the RHAP YouTube channel. Also, James, this weekend we released our very first RHAP Blood on the Clock Tower game. Did you see this?
I did. Rob, to be quite honest, I was very sad that I was not invited to be on this. I partake, and out of that, I was very taken aback by it.
Yes, you want to be. You want to be in the next one?
I mean, I'm just putting my head in the race. I saw the names. I know I'm not as big as some of those people that are on there. However, so no, I'm tuned in. Like, it's gonna be great.
We'd love to have you. You would be great on the next one. So hopefully we can work it out. I'll tell Stephen Fishback to hit you up for that. If you've never seen Blood on the Clock Tower, you will hold your hand through it. Check it out on our YouTube channel. Survivor's playing Blood on the Clock Tower. Then this Friday, I'll be back taking patron questions on the patron Q&A. I don't really know. We got the weird image going on there, but okay. Sure. We'll be live at what time? 3 p.m. Eastern coming up on Friday. I took about 30 questions live from the patrons, call-ins on Friday. We'll see what the patrons have up their sleeve after another jam-packed episode. All right. And of course, all of our Survivor coverage, you can follow it on at WeKnowSurvivor.com, including the exit interview, the know-it-alls, everything that's going on. Of course, the Purple Pants podcast, Survivor News, the Survivor Global, Why Blank Lost, the B&B. It's all there in our Survivor feed, WeKnowSurvivor.com. Okay? Survivor San Juan del Sur every week. We've been talking about what's been going on 10 years in the past, also from 2014. Have you watched The Summit, James?
I have tuned into The Summit.
Yeah, okay.
I like it.
It's good. Everybody's like, The Summit. It's better than I thought it was going to be. Chappelle and Taryn are talking about The Summit every week. Episode 2 dropped tonight. I heard it was crazy. They'll have a recap for you coming up. You can follow that if you go to WeKnowTheSummit.com. Tomorrow night, Corey Wertenberger joins us. Okay? And that is going to be to talk about the Final Four eviction. Have you been keeping up with this Big Brother season?
I feel like I have the perfect equilibrium of watching and reading and seeing clips online to understand what is happening. But I have been keeping up. I feel like it's been a good season. I feel like, shout out to Cam. I don't like he's playing the
Shout
most
out to the dogs of the crib.
The dogs at the crib. He's playing most under. I don't know if he's trying to do this, but the most low profile social
Not
game.
since Gabler has anybody laid so low and like waiting to strike.
Gabler won the immunity. Gabler won immunity.
He could win the last one.
Like Gabler could
He won a veto.
Yeah. Oh, he won a veto?
He did. He won a veto, not the final veto.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I didn't remember that. I mean, sorry, Cam. But no, I think everybody's playing a good game. I like that.
It was the Yankee swap.
The Yankee swap.
Yep. That was the veto that he won.
Oh.
Yep.
Good job, Cam.
Okay. All right. Corey Wurtenberger is going to join us for tomorrow night's eviction. Me, Taryn, and Corey coming up tomorrow night. Okay. Then, James, how about House of Villains? You follow any of this?
So, love House of Villains. Big challenge fan. Excited to see Wes. Get a chance to play that game. I did watch Jesse's season, The Big Brother. I think he played twice, right?
He did. Big Brother 10, Big Brother 11.
Yeah, so he played twice. Familiar with his game.
So we talked to him today. Me and Jenny and Chappelle talked to Mr. Spectacular earlier today. Had a little interview to get hyped for the season. Jenny, Chappelle, and I also did a preview of the season. Jenny and Chappelle are going to have all of the coverage of House of Villains. You can follow that. Go to weknowvillains.com for the House of Villains podcast feed. And then over on Dancing with the Stars, Matt and Sasha are talking with Izzy Gleischer is talking about Dancing with the Stars. Should be very fun. Okay. And that's all I've got. Got nothing else for you. robinswebsite.com/patron for everything else we've got. James, where can people keep up with you?
Follow me on Instagram, J to the Jones, Twitter, J to the Jones. Not really on Facebook. You don't have to really do that. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Twitch, J to the Jones, but I'm gonna get that going. But yeah.
What are you gonna Twitch? Playing chess?
I say video games, maybe some cooking and grilling. I was thinking about maybe talking about some episodes live with some Survivor alums.
Seinfeld episodes?
I don't know about Seinfeld, but that's actually maybe me watching Seinfeld and my reactions. I don't know, but I'm just trying to Twitch thing out. So
okay, all right, that'll be fun. All right, looking forward to that. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to see what you have to say in the comments here in the YouTube comment section, and then I'll be back with a busy Thursday here on RHAP. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.